Hi friends, welcome back to Calm in the Chaos Homeschool. So today I'm going to be giving my end of the year hits and misses or reflection on the curriculum I picked for my two boys who are in 4th and 5th grade this past year. So I'm going to be doing this a little bit different than I have in the past. And what I'm doing here is I'm going to be watching bits and pieces of my original video where I shared our picks with you all. And I'm going to be talking about whether or not the curriculum worked as I expected. Did we like the curriculum? Did we drop the curriculum? Did we add anything? Did we change anything? So I'm hoping this will be a very helpful video for those of you who are still searching for curriculum, or even just for you to keep in the back of your head for future years. Doing videos this way was inspired by Angie from Science Mama. I will link her channel below. So shout out to Angie, and you should check out her channel if you have not watched her channel. So Science Mama. Anyways, so I'm going to be watching this along with you. I have not done any preparation as far as watched this video. I am noticing that I'm wearing the exact same shirt. So that is how we do things around here. Don't have a lot of variety in my wardrobe, and that is on purpose, honestly. So I do want to mention that this is just their independent work. If you're interested in our overall homeschool experience this year, I had that video up a few weeks ago. And then if you're interested in our family subjects, check out my video from last week. And I will have a playlist of all this as well in the description box below. I'll also be reflecting on my daughter's curriculum. So that was 6th and 7th grade. And then I will be talking about our morning basket and what we had in there for 3rd term and how we felt about all of that this year as well. But I'll be watching this video I made of my boys' picks for the 4th and 5th grade and letting you know what I think. So let's get started. So today I'm going to be showing you my curriculum picks for my 4th and 5th grade boys. So my 4th and 5th grade boys are on a very similar level. They need different things and their personalities are different. So I'm just going to be showing you what I'm using for both of them, and I'll just kind of explain why I picked one thing or the other thing. So the first thing I'm going to show you is their math. They are doing teaching textbooks Math 4. Both of them are on that level right now. Now, I do generally like to have the physical workbooks for them to do their work in. That is something we're still waiting on. The parent partnership program is getting that for us, but they didn't order it initially. So at this point, my boys are probably on lesson 15 or 16. And because they review at the beginning of the year, it's been fine. They've just been writing things down that they need to on a pad of paper, but they really do like working in the physical workbook. So that's something you might want to consider if you do teaching textbooks and you find your students are reluctant to write down the problems to solve. Getting the physical textbook has really made teaching textbooks work for us. So a note on teaching textbooks, if you are not aware, you can print off all of the lessons from your teacher account. So that is something I just learned about. I've probably been told that before, but so you don't have to purchase the book if you don't want to. It's very nice to have the book available so you don't have to print off a million pages, but that is available if that is something needed. Recently found that out when we lost a textbook. So we are still very heavily using the textbook. In fact, at this point, my boys will completely do the lesson in their textbook without touching their tablet. When they have finished all the questions, then they go on and they enter the answers onto their tablet and see how they did. So that means they're not really getting the lesson from the teacher unless they watch it in between doing it in their books and then doing it on the tablet. So it's not ideal, but I do find that when they get on the tablet, they just lose their momentum or they get distracted, things like that. So it is working for us. I don't love how spiral teaching textbooks is in that all the questions are kind of like, there's a few of the same, but they're very mixed and jumbled. Every day the review is kind of mixed and jumbled with the new concepts. I don't love that, but it is a very affordable program and it is still working for my boys. So we are going to be continuing on with teaching textbooks. And I do love that the questions are graded for them. That's really helpful with 4 kids and limited amounts of time to be able to help each child with what they need. So that way, if they get 80% and above, we just let them continue. If they get less than 80%, I will go and delete the questions that they got wrong. We'll grab a new sheet of paper so they're not just copying down answers that they might have recorded when they were doing it. And we go through the questions together and we see what they don't know. And yeah, so it's working pretty good. I am still using teaching textbooks for the upcoming school year.
Another thing that we do supplementally to go with teaching textbooks is we are doing Time for Math Facts. That is sort of a game-based way to learn the basic addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division skills. My boys right now are still working on the addition and subtraction level, trying to get those down pat before we start multiplication. Hopefully we can move into multiplication this year.
I enjoy Time for Math Facts. It is a fun game-based way. My youngest really struggled with it. I feel like maybe he just doesn't do well with online programs because I feel like he should have advanced way more than he did. Like, he does know the facts, but he was very slow in entering the facts, even though he can do his math quite quickly if he sets his mind out to do it. So we were just kind of trying to push through and use up the time that I had paid for. I didn't want to quit it just because he doesn't love it, but we quit it more because of computer issues with people clicking on things they shouldn't have and just not having a good system as far as, I mean, we have the computers out in our living room, but people were just clicking on things they shouldn't have and causing viruses and things like that with our computers. So we completely cut off all electronics, not all electronics. They still have their tablets. Basically, those are games and things that they do on their tablets, but just anything on the computer, I just kind of, the last term, we didn't do anything on the computer for the boys and one of my daughters. So I will comment on how we liked the programs that we did do throughout this video, but just know that we stopped doing all those. So I do recommend Time for Math Facts. I think it's a fun thing to do at least like a year to get your kids solid on their addition and subtraction, multiplication, and division facts. We did it for 2 years that I paid for. I knew about it from when my kids had subscriptions when they were in public school, and I really liked it. But after a while, it does get a little redundant and it doesn't exactly show, I think, the learning for all kids. So that's my Time for Math Facts spiel.
All right, so language arts. This is new for us. We are using language lessons for the elementary child.
Okay, so I really still like language lessons for the elementary child. It went well for us. I feel like some of it is, it's very independent. The kids can really do most of it on their own and it doesn't require a lot of direct teaching from me. I do supplement with a lot of things, but I feel like this is kind of like my base. And then I supplement with things that I feel like my kids need more help with. The lessons are very short. They don't take long at all. We did buy the next level. My youngest son is starting on the next level here at the end of this school year. So he's the one that was doing 3 lessons every time we did it. So we're slowing down a bit because this is the last of the elementary levels that there is. And then they go into language lessons for the secondary child, and there's other beyond that. So I'm not going to say that we will for sure continue on with this forever, but we have enjoyed the volume 1. We are starting volume 2, and then we'll see if I feel like I need that basic language arts in the future, or if I'm just going to have all the different components separately, if I'm going to do it that way in the future. So that's something I'll be thinking about this school year. But I do recommend it if you want something very basic, easy for the child to complete generally on their own, does not belabor points, it just touches on different things. So I do recommend it, and we have enjoyed it this year.
Other things that we do. So both of my boys are using Explode the Code, different levels. One of my boys struggles more with spelling and phonics and things like that. So he is at level 5, and we do the half one. So I don't know why I don't have the 5.5, but he'll be moving from 5 to 5.5 to 6. So we move through all the half levels for Explode the Code for him. My other son is a little better at spelling and phonetics and things like that. So he is on 8, and that is the end. So he's going to be done with Explode the Code at some point this year, probably about halfway through the year.
So I must have been wrong here. So let's say my youngest, he is on level 8 from Explode the Code. He will be finishing it up either before we start our summer school or during summer school. And then my middle son, He probably was on 4.5 at the time that I did this video, and he is on 5.5 now. So we've really only done about 2 of the books. We have been doing Explode the Code since our first year of homeschooling, and this is the end of our 3rd year. So we have been using Explode the Code for 3 years now, and I can't say that about most curriculum. That might be one of the longest standing curriculums. My middle son, he's just gonna keep going with Explode the Code. I think it is valuable information for him. He really needs that phonics reinforcement, and that's what it does. It helps with the phonics, it helps with his spelling, and it's independent, and he just does like a 2 sides every, like a few times a week, 3 or 4 times a week. And it's something he can do pretty much on his own, but it's building those phonetic skills that he really needs. So he's going into 6th grade, and we're just going to continue. So he should be pretty close to be done 5.5, so we'll be doing 6, 6.5, 7, and 8 at some point in the upcoming school year. So Explode the Code is still working for us.
Then that one son who struggles a little more with spelling, we are doing Spelling You See. So he is on level B towards the end. We are on lesson 31, so there are 36 lessons. So we're gonna be working on this for a bit more, but once he's done that, I do have level C. So we will move into that.
All right, so what I'm noticing here is we go way slower in some things than I expected. So we were on lesson 31 of level B, and we are probably only on lesson 3 or 4 of C. So we have at least a whole year left with the Spelling You See. We are doing it. I have slowed it down to probably 2 or 3 times a week, depending on how much other stuff we had going on. If he's struggling with the spelling of the words, I'm not going to just keep rushing ahead and trying to get, for us, 4 lessons a week would be a lot. So 3, 2 sometimes, but we usually try to do 3 lessons a week, and we're just doing it slow because that's where he's at. My daughter has been using Spelling You See probably since the very first year of homeschooling as well. He just started last year, I think, the year before, I'm not sure. Okay, maybe he's been doing it 2 years. But I have seen improvement in her spelling, and I know you would hope to see that over several years, but it's not a small thing to see improvement in her spelling. So I have seen her writing those more common words correctly much more often. I have seen the progress that has been made with Spelling You See. It is different. It has a lot of copy work, which this son in particular, it's hard for him to write. So it's not the best as far as that goes, but I have seen the results from my daughter using it. So we are going to continue using Spelling You See, and even though we've had to go slower, I'm still happy with the program, with the way they chunk, and I have been seeing some improvement in his spelling. I'm gonna say probably another year or so before we see it become more fluent. He doesn't have a lot of confidence with his spelling, so he does ask me how to spell almost every word, but we're getting better at being able to sound it out. If I tell him, okay, you need to sound it out, and I help him with it. So we are improving with the spelling, and we're gonna continue with Spelling You See.
So then the son who doesn't struggle as much with spelling, he needed a few more things to just round out, give him a little more things to do. So I picked up a few things for him. He is very particular about what he does, and if it's not something he really enjoys, it's really hard to get him to do things that he doesn't really enjoy. So we have the basics that he has to do, and he knows that, but when I try to pick up extras, I try to make sure it's something that he's interested in. So we started out with this. Every once in a while, this will come up on his checklist to do across the USA activity book.
Okay, so with that Usborne USA geography book, we did enjoy it for about half of the year, and we didn't stop enjoying it, but I let him pick out the pages that he wanted to do, and I would say about halfway through the year, he'd just kind of flip and he wouldn't find anything he was interested in. I didn't want to force him to do this in particular. I thought about assigning certain pages, but we had already set that precedent of him picking out the ones he wanted to do. So we just kind of dropped that, I would say, halfway through the year. I do recommend it. I think it was a lot of fun. In going into next year, I'm not particularly looking for things for him to do in addition. He is very self-motivated. He has very particular interests, and I wouldn't say he wastes time. He goes and he is creative. So I'm not going to be trying to fill his time with things. So the upcoming ones are sort of things that I probably won't be picking this sort of stuff for him next year. But I did really like this book. He did enjoy it for when he could pick the ones he wanted to do. And now it's just kind of, it's his book. He can do whenever he wants.
Now this other one is something I was waiting for my parent partnership program to get for me, but they decided that they weren't going to get it for me. So I just went and purchased it myself after I decided I really do want it. So he is going to alternate doing this with this. So this is a Funschooling do-it-yourself curriculum, and it has Minecraft themed.
So things like that. I keep trying to do the Funschooling thing that looks good. And for him in particular, like I said, he's very creative. He doesn't waste his time, but he's very particular about what he's interested in. And he's the son that I feel like maybe at some point I might have to do even a more unschooly approach for him, particularly when he gets to more of the high school level, if we start clashing over my desire for him to do things and his desire to do certain things. So he's kind of my child who probably would do okay homeschooling if we could come up with some parameters that would work for me. So this, we did do it also about half of the year. I did not particularly enjoy it. I had a hard time when it was time to do it. We tried to do it in order, but then I didn't like the page that he was going to be doing that day. So then we'd skip to something else, and then it seemed kind of repetitive. Yeah, so it wasn't something he was like crazy interested in. He didn't mind doing them. I didn't find value in forcing him to do things from this book after about half of a year. And so we used a very tiny piece of it. It's a very thick book. I feel like it was relatively expensive for what it is. It's just a guide to help people do their school. So I don't know. I have not enjoyed the Funschooling books as much as I would like. I see it and I'm like, oh yeah, maybe we could add that as something fun to do, but have not had success with that. So for us, that was a miss this year. Also, both of my boys are reading various leveled American history books along with some other books as their personal reading or literature. We are working through Bookshark level D and E, and they are kind of close to that reading level, but not quite there. So I'm picking a few of the easier books from the level D for them to read. And I also have some more easy readers that correspond with our history. So as far as the readers went, we were doing Bookshark D and E, and so I had those readers. I had these other readers that I had that were like 3rd grade level, and definitely we have seen a lot of improvement in their reading over the year. It got to the point where those 3rd grade readers were definitely just like a really fast read and didn't really do much. They were able to read a lot of the 4th grade, maybe not a lot, maybe a third of the 4th grade readers. Once my girls had read it and I knew what the reading level was, I assigned them to my boys as well. So they did a good amount of the D and E along with some of those even easier readers that I had ready for them kind of at the 3rd grade level. So yeah, so I'm curious to see how things are going to be next year. We are going to be doing Sunlight F, and so the readers from that, and I'm going to be interested to see which of those they will be able to read as well. Something new for us this year was, in past years, their readers, they always read all of it to myself or my husband, usually at night for about 10 minutes, and we would get through the readers. This year I tried to allow them to do their silent reading in their readers. Before, silent reading was just whatever they were interested in reading, but assigning books that they read during their silent reading. And I have one son who seems to get through his books very, very quickly and then can't tell me what happened in the book, and that was kind of what I was afraid of. So it's kind of this balance of, do I make him read it out loud even though he's reading to himself? I might have to do that. I don't want him just rushing through the books and not really understanding what he's reading. They still read at night 10 minutes to either my husband or I. 3 of my kids who still need help with the reading fluency do that. Yeah, so it's that tricky, how much are they really reading and understanding, and how much are they just like kind of rushing through the book? So that's an interesting struggle to have. So in general, they were able to read a decent amount of the D+E readers, and I'm hoping that we can continue to do that. I don't need them to read every reader in the level that I'm doing, but if they can read about half of them and then we can supplement with other things, that will work for us in sharing one of those levels from like Sunlight.
So a few more things that my boys do that I do not have physical copies to show you. One is the Good and the Beautiful Handwriting. I purchased the PDF for that, so I just have that printed. One son is redoing level 3 because he's really not fluent with that cursive yet, and I wanted to just go through that one more time before we move on to the smaller cursive. The other son is very good at cursive and he's moving on to level 4.
So I would say Explode the Code and the Good and the Beautiful Handwriting. Those are two things that we have done all 3 years and we haven't stopped. I don't necessarily go through a whole level in the year. It just depends on the child. I would say we do it 2 or 3 times a week, so that's less than a level a year. However, we are doing it. The kids do not mind at all. In fact, my oldest really loves it. She'll go ahead and do like all 4 pages, even though I'm like, I'd rather you just did one at a time. Make sure your writing is nice and neat. So my middle son, who was redoing the cursive level, he is still working on that now. I picked up more manuscript writing for him to practice. So I think what I'm gonna do next year is he's gonna do 1 day of printing, 1 day of handwriting, and we'll just work our way slowly through that. My younger son, he has excellent fine motor skills and he's enjoying his cursive, and he'll just keep going on with the levels, as well as my girls. So that's kind of our handwriting, still enjoying the Good and the Beautiful Handwriting. No one complains about having that on their weekly work.
Some other things that we do on the computer, we are using typing.com. I do recommend typing.com or typingclub.com.
So like I said, we are not doing that right now. Probably did it about 2/3 of the school year. I do still recommend typing.com, typingclub.com. However, maybe you want to pay for the ad free. I feel like that was sort of a stumbling block for us in our home. So I think I would consider doing it again, but I would need it to be pay for the ad free. I don't think it's super expensive either, so I think totally worth it for a relatively free typing program. So the program itself, I like the program itself. The ads were kind of distracting and my kids were clicking on them, and I think this might have been the culprit for some of the viruses that we got on our computers. So that is a heads up, and I apologize if that has happened to you because I recommended these programs. I would probably go ahead and pay for the ad-free experience, and I'm considering it for next year. I mean, the whole thing is it's still an issue for some of my kids to be on the computer at all, so I don't know if that would fix the problem, but I think it would help. And so yeah, I recommend if you want to do Typing Club or typing.com, probably pay for the ad-free experience and you might have a better experience than we did. But I think it's a great program, and I really want my middle son to be able to type because he just, like I said, the physical act of writing is so hard for him. So if he could learn how to type, it might be better. That's what his occupational therapist says. So yeah, so at some point I would like to go back to typing.com probably, but not sure when that's going to be.
I will say my youngest son, he is the one that gets really easily frustrated with programs, with things that don't go as planned, or some of those online curriculum. He gets frustrated with that, and he has not been frustrated at all.
So he still has not, like he did not get frustrated at all with typing.com. Other programs, yes. This one, no. So that worked well for us.
And Typing Club is something we used in the past as well. It is also a good program. My plan is to do typing.com, and then when they've completed that, or if that gets frustrating for some reason, we will move to typingclub.com and they can work on the skills. There is an assessment in there and they'll place you at the right level. So that's kind of my plan for this year.
So I still recommend that. I think you could probably do either one. They probably both have assessments, but it's nice to have both kind of in your back pocket in case something happens with one that's causing frustration. They're very similar, but it's just another program that you could jump to if you needed a new typing program, or just to redo the skills to make sure to reinforce and just to kind of start over again without doing the exact same thing. So I still recommend that.
Another online program that we are using is code.org. That is another free program. It is a program that teaches computer skills, coding, computer safety, and stuff like that. So we have not used it too long. That is new to us this year.
So code.org, it was good. Same thing. We stopped doing it because we just stopped doing everything online. But I have no specific complaints about code.org. They were learning logic skills, how to make different things, do different things with, I don't know, the coding stuff. So no complaints about that program in itself, just we couldn't handle online things for a while in our family. So it was good. We did stop doing it towards the end of the school year.
And the last thing that they have been using kind of supplementally is Miacademy.
So Miacademy was fine for supplemental things for us. We are definitely not a online homeschool at all. We do get a little tired of these online programs at times. So 1 year with Miacademy, just supplementally doing a few little things here and there, just reinforcing what we're learning in the school. That worked fine. They liked the games. They didn't mind the lessons. So it worked fine, but same thing. When we had computer issues, I had no problem just stopping cold turkey. Even though we had several months left on our subscription, I just stopped with Miacademy, and I can't say we missed it a lot. So I know some people do online programs, like that is their primary thing for their homeschool. We are not those people. We enjoy books, paper, and some online things, but people have to be able to handle the online things that we have. So I do want my kids to be going back to some things like coding and typing and things like that, but we just need to get to the point where they can control their impulses as far as clicking on random things, or we have some kind of ad blocker that works better than whatever we have now. So let me know if that is something that you have a problem with in your home as far as computers. I know lots of people don't even have their kids on the computers at all. We have computers, we have tablets. The tablets have very limited things on there, and that's how I prefer my kids to be doing things. But at some point, I guess they do have to learn how to use a computer and get on the computer. So depending on the child, we allow different access to computers. Yeah, we struggle with that. I don't know. Some of you probably do as well.
Final thing that we are using is this here. This is Word of Life's Concord 1 Year Daily Devotions for grades 3 and 4.
So something I changed with personal devotions is I used to time it like 15 minutes, spend 15 minutes, and now I feel like that time might have been a little bit too long for my boys in particular. So they just read the verses, do the one, and then they move on to math. So thing with personal devotions is it's always that balance of I want them to want a relationship with God and to want to spend time with God, and I don't want to be forcing them to do it. But on the other hand, I do want them to have exposure to more of the Bible and devotionals. We do stuff together as a group, and I feel like that might be more valuable at this point. So, I mean, I do get to do a little bit of personal devotions while my kids are doing it. So that is a plus. I guess I'm just considering how I'm going to go about all of this next year, if it's going to be a scheduled time, or is it going to be a devotional, or is it just going to be read a chapter, pick out a verse, write down the verse, or write down a prayer or something like that. So let me know what you guys do in your home for personal devotions, if it works. My kids are very reluctant to write a lot in general. I have one daughter who doesn't mind it, but they really don't want to write stuff down, if at all possible. And I don't want devotions to be something that is painful for them, obviously. So let me know if you have any ideas on what you guys do in your home. Do you do personal devotions, or you just do it as a group? How would you help kids who don't want to write things down? I don't know. How do you encourage your kids to spend time with God? I would love to hear your suggestions.
I think that covers what my 4th and 5th graders are doing this year.
So that looks like it's the end of the video. So yeah, I don't feel like we had a lot of curriculum here this year. It was definitely enough for this 4th and 5th grader. We did have times when we struggled to do the things, and so we do have to go slower on certain things, just depending. Taking away those computer courses or computer things that we did maybe once or twice a week, not a lot, it did free up some time, and it made it easier for my boys to just look at their list and get through what they needed to get through. So I feel like it did prioritize what needs to be prioritized and didn't distract us with extra things, but some of those extra things I do feel has a place. So I might want to bring back typing at some point. Coding could be something that they do on their own once I'm allowing them on the computer again. Yeah, so that is sort of how things went with us in general. I liked my curriculum. Most of these were hits for us. Spelling You See is kind of okay for my son. I mean, it's the best spelling that I've been able to find, so that is good. Their language arts for the elementary child, we liked that one. USA, the Usborne USA, we liked that one. I guess the Minecraft all-in-one thing, not so great. That was a miss. And so like Explode the Code, Handwriting, those were all hits for us, and we will just continue doing those things in the upcoming school year. So one thing that I did not mention that we added later on, I was feeling a little bit of lack in writing in particular, so I added on winning with writing. I just took it off of there's a bookshelf at my parent partnership program with things that people ordered but never ended up using. So I took it off the bookshelf. It was level 3, so I'm guessing that's like a 3rd grade level. So that was a surprise win for us. The lessons are nice and short. They do have 36 weeks with 5 lessons every week. So I probably should double up on those, but I haven't been. So we're probably on week 8 or 9 at this point, but that was a nice surprise. I'm going to continue to use Winning with Writing next year, along with the IEW that I'm going to be doing with my boys. So it will be good because the IEW is going to be more me teaching them, and I'm going to have to be working with them, whereas this other writing is super independent, which I love. It'll be nice to have IEW that I can do with my boys when I have time, and then Winning with Writing, we can just keep on doing a few lessons a week, so whenever I don't have time to teach a lesson, we can just supplement with that. So yeah, so those are the curriculums that we used last year. Mostly worked out well. If you like videos like this, don't forget to give me a like and check out my next video to hear about how our 6th and 7th grade picks went for us this year. Thanks so much for coming today, and I hope to see you in my next video. Bye everybody.